Everyone is born as an original document, but many people end up dying as photocopies.
Carlo said, everyone is born as an original, but many people die as photocopies. And God has a unique blueprint for each one of us. Just think of our fingerprints. No two sets of fingerprints are the same. The Lord really has a special plan for each one of us. Each one of us has our potential, and it is up to us to use the free will He has given us in order to reach our potential.
With our laptops, we can enter the gates of heaven, and with our screens, we can enter the gates of heaven. These thoughts help us to understand that the Church is going to offer us new examples of sainthood, and Pope Francis is offering us a new model, Carlo. We can see that Pope Francis is offering Carlo as an example of how to use social media and the internet properly, along with everything that goes with it. From WhatsApp to Facebook, he knew how to use social media in a good way in order to spread the kingdom of God.
Carlo
is really an ordinary saint. Carlo is the one who puts into practice the words of Mother Teresa. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. He was born in 1991 and his life was completely ordinary. He went to nursery school, primary school, middle school and high school. Carlo was simply a youngster growing up in his own neighborhood. When you go to school, you can be bored and drag your feet. But for Carlo, going to school was an opportunity to greet the caretakers of the buildings and the people he met on the way. And for each person, he had a little smile or a kind glance. I met Carlo in third grade. He was one of my closest friends in primary and secondary school, and we spent a lot of afternoons watching movies and playing together. We were very close. One of the things that I always appreciated about him was that he was a very simple person and that he never judged anyone. Carlo was a great computer enthusiast, and he especially liked to make videos, which were often funny, of the animals which were in the house. Funny videos. And I'm not a big computer expert, so he showed me the finished product, and they were very funny videos.
No! Dai, fa anche la depressione. Avanti alla terra sotto le scarpe.
When we were children, we often played football with Carlo, like we did just now. We met when we were 6-year-olds during the summer, because my brother and I went to meet my grandmother in Assisi to spend a few weeks during the summer. My brother was 12, 13 years old, and often, as it happens between brothers, he pushed me around. And when he gave me a rough time in front of Carlo, Carlo repeatedly took my brother and threw him outside the house for half an hour. At the time, I didn't understand him. I couldn't understand the magnitude of what was going on. As time went by, I realized that Carlo was a special person, a person who touches you and who remains with you even now. Every night when I go to bed, I think of Carlo because he's one of these people you don't forget.
Carlo had a different understanding of religion, even when we were children. My brother and I, unlike Carlo, had another education. But Carlo, I must say, tried to guide us towards something a little more spiritual. We were children, and our main goal was to play and have fun. But when we walked around Assisi, a city full of churches and spiritual and religious culture, I have to admit that he wanted to take us into the church just to visit it.
There was a very beautiful moment in his life that would transform everything, and this was the day of his first communion. For him, it was a real encounter with Jesus, to go to Mass, not once in a while, but really every day, and it was a decision that he took and to which he would remain faithful until the day of his death. Carlo was nourished by the Eucharist every day, and it is this friendship with Christ in the Eucharist that would nourish his life. The parish priest asked Carlo's mother, who was not very committed to her faith and who had a somewhat worldly connection to the Christian faith, to teach catechism. She allowed herself to be converted by the faith of her son.
Carlo asked me a lot of questions, but there were many things that I didn't know, and my shortcomings were enormous. I'm absolutely sure that Carlo was a little savior for me because, thanks to him, I started a journey of faith. For him, his day was to meet Jesus at Mass. To give you an idea of just how important this was for him, when we went on a trip, the first thing he asked was to know where the nearest church was so that he could attend Mass and not miss this meeting with Jesus that he was so keen on. He would say that we are much luckier than those who lived 2,000 years ago, who were at Jesus' side. Because all we have to do is go to a local church, and we are in Jerusalem. For him, it was obvious that Jesus is really present wherever there is a tabernacle.
The Eucharist is my highway to heaven.
Carlos said that he was surprised to see people lining up for miles to go to a rock concert, or a football match, or the latest movie, but that in front of the tabernacle, he did not see these queues of people. But how is it possible? He said. We have the real presence of Jesus in the tabernacle, and no one is queuing up. Carlo knew this very well, and he was really convinced of this. He often said that people may spend hours in the sun just to get a tan, whereas spending time in front of Jesus, they get to become a saint. He strongly believed that this relationship with Jesus raises up our souls, transforms us, and helps us internally. When he went to Eucharistic adoration, he said that he really felt this strong presence of Jesus in himself, as if he were drawn into the tabernacle.
Why are men so concerned about the beauty of their bodies, and why don't they care about the beauty of their souls?
Carlo vit pas dans sa bulle.
Carlo didn't live in his bubble. Although he was an only child, he was not alone in the world. Very soon, as a teenager, he got involved with the Capuchin brothers and would hang out with them serving meals for the poor in Milan. As a youngster, he could have just said to himself, how can I serve other people at the age of 12, 13 years old? I only have my pocket money. But he didn't wait to become rich, he shared the little he had.
As Mother Teresa of Calcutta advised, one should start doing good in one's own neighborhood. Carlo really took these words to heart. We live in the center of Milan. Downstairs, there were often homeless who slept in boxes, who were cold. He made plans with Rajesh, who worked at our home, to donate part of their dinner every evening. With his pocket money, instead of buying toys or other things, he also bought sleeping bags, which he distributed.
For
Carlo, whose best friend was Jesus, there was something important in friendship, which was to share this friendship with Christ.
Ses parents avaient un employé, il s'appelle Rajesh.
His parents had an employee called Rajesh, who had come to Italy to work. In his testimony, Rajesh tells how the only person that treated him with respect was this little child who didn't treat him as a slave, but as a friend. He really wanted to be friends with Rajesh, and this friendship was a transforming experience for Rajesh.
Buongiorno, io sono Rajesh.
Hello, I am Rajesh. With Carlo, we used to come here often for walks, and sometimes we brought the dog. Carlo would bring a frisbee with him, and we had some good times in this park. Everywhere I look, there are memories. Some years have passed since I began working for this family. I used to accompany Carlo to kindergarten, to the park, to McDonald's, and especially to church. He talked about many beautiful things with me, how to take communion, what the Mass is all about. And even though he was small, I valued him more than my teacher, because everything he said to me was really joyful and touched my heart. He told me things about the Lord, about Our Lady, and little by little I too felt that I was being converted from the inside. He was so small. I was surprised that such a young child could be a role model in my life. He was a true teacher for me, which is why I converted from Hinduism to Christianity. Hello, we are here at the Carlo Acutis Center in Assisi. This center was the wish of Carlos's parents because he was a boy who loved nature and animals. In fact, in this center we have several dogs, parrots and birds of different species. And it also serves as a place of rest and a meeting place for groups of young people going to the Hermitage. My conversion practically happened by chance, as I found out about Carlo via the internet. I have to say that it had been 25, 30 years since I had been to church. I was outside of the faith, and I was so impressed by this boy's life that in September 2013, knowing that he was buried in Assisi, I decided to go to his grave straight away. There I was overcome by a strong emotion, and I began to sob. I threw myself on this tomb, and I don't know how long I stayed there crying. From there, my faith was practically born again.
La mia fede.
For Carlo,
computers were one of his passions. He was what we might call a geek, someone who was keen on new technologies. Carlo didn't have all the social media that we have today. He had email. Carlo is the first saint in heaven with an email address. He didn't yet have Facebook, but he had so many new technologies, and the way he used them can inspire us today. Not only did his work have a social function, but he was also a missionary, and that is what is impressive. For 2 years he wondered, how can I share my greatest passion with my friends? His greatest passion was Jesus in the Eucharist. How could he find the words to share this with young people of his own age? So he did some research on Google and Wikipedia, and using all this stuff on the internet, he found plenty of information. He tried to talk to young people, reminding them of something that had been forgotten at that time. Several times in the past, there have been what we call Eucharistic miracles, moments when in an astonishing and almost inexplicable way, what had just been bread and what had only been wine became a piece of flesh and blood. And it's incredible, because it happened several times in the past. So the exciting thing was that Carlo said, okay, I have to go back to all these miracles. I'm going to make a presentation where I will show all this. Carlo presented the testimonies of the priests and faithful people who witnessed these transformations and how these experiences changed their lives.
This presentation has traveled through all the continents, to the United States in more than 10,000 parishes, in shrines such as Fatima, Paris-le-Monial, and Guadeloupe. This exposition has done a lot of good, and it continues to travel. We helped to translate it into several languages. This presentation has touched the hearts of many people. It has helped many people to come closer to Jesus. Carlo created a chain of love, which is wonderful.
The only problem was that a few days before the inauguration of the exhibition, Carlo began to feel a bit ill. He felt sick, was vomiting, and his symptoms became so bad that his mother said they had to go to the hospital.
Before this, Carlo felt fine. He had had no obvious symptoms. The doctors explained to me that the leukemia that Carlo had was silent. We took him to the hospital, and they told him straight away that he had this illness and that he could die. And Carlo said, joking, because he often told jokes, he was funny, "The Lord has given me a good shake," with a smile. And then he said, "Mom, I am not going to come out of here alive, but you will see. I will give you many signs afterwards." And in fact, Carlo didn't come out alive. He was dead 3 days later because this illness was devastating. The blast cells proliferated in his blood, and he died. It was very quick.
When he died, all of a sudden, everything went black, and I thought, maybe I have not understood. Maybe I have made a mistake, thinking that something special was going on. I lost my bearings. There I was, all of a sudden, in the dark, with nothing to hold on to. Even my faith wavered. And then, little by little, we realized that in fact all this had a meaning, and it was part of a design. And little by little, this gave us peace. I believe that amidst all these difficulties, we each receive special grace, which helps us to endure the pain. We were given grace which helped us to understand that we are not in a crazy lottery, but that there is a plan of love behind it all. This gave us great peace, and with time, this helped me to heal the pain of this brutal separation. Then gradually, I realized that there was a whole world that I was unaware of. I mean, all these people outside the family who loved Carlo and that I didn't even know. At his burial, the church was full of people that I didn't know. The caretaker of the building opposite us, other caretakers, other people, even those of other religions. And gradually we discovered a new life through the testimony of these people. The funeral was absolutely unique. It was almost a celebration.
Carlo Acutis
died on the 12th of October 2006. Then in 2011, the beatification process was opened in Milan. Carlo did a miracle in Brazil. It was the healing of a child suffering from congenital malformation of the pancreas, who recovered thanks to his intercession. The parish priest who had come across Carlo in the media wanted to make his figure known to his parishioners and invited them to pray. On the 12th of October, the anniversary of Carlos's death, he celebrated a Mass. At the end of the celebration, the priest showed a child who was gravely afflicted with pancreatic illness and who was held in the arms of his grandfather who prayed for his healing. This child was miraculously healed. The first step is a medical consultation. A group of doctors has to study the case and declare whether this healing can be explained from a scientific point of view or not. In the case of Carlo, on the 15th of November 2019, the vote was unanimous that this healing was truly inexplicable from a scientific point of view. A month later, it was sent to the College of Theologians, who had to determine if there was a link between the healing and the invocation of Carlo. And in fact, they also unanimously recognized that there was a link. For me, Carlo is a new kind of missionary of this unknown continent, this sixth continent that needs to be evangelized. Carlo is part of a pioneer generation.
Carlo's death certainly made me think about the meaning of life and whether God exists, because these are the kinds of questions that we ask as adolescents. Why do I believe? Is it me who wants to believe? Or am I passively following a system of thoughts that I was taught? Actually, I had a period of doubt during which I wondered why he died. Why be religious or why be a Christian? Is it good? Is it bad? And now I've grown up. And when I think about Carlo's death and all the positive things he did and how much he helps people today, I must admit that this helps me too. Because at that time, I no longer believed in God or Christianity, in faith or in life after death. But I have to say that now I have found all those things again. Carlo told us, "The goal of my life is to always be united with Jesus." And this touches me a lot because it reminds me of what is essential. Always being united, heart to heart, with Jesus.
From St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 10, verses 2 to 3. He said to them, "The harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. So ask the master of the harvest to send out laborers for his harvest. Go on your way. Behold, I am sending you like lambs among wolves." Carlo lived when the use of internet began to spread over the planet. He was one of the pioneers in using digital technology for evangelization. Lord, help us to be audacious and creative, following Carlo's example. May we be smart in using all the available tools in order to spread your word. The utility of the digital world depends on how we use it. For the worse, the internet can be a place of loneliness and manipulation. On the other hand, the internet can serve the greater good and reveal beauty in the way Carlo used it. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Show us how to communicate beautiful things. Help us to highlight the goodness in man. The COVID-19 pandemic has obliged a large part of the world's inhabitants to lock down in their homes. Because of this, the use of the internet and social media have risen. We see that these instruments allow us to have a powerful communication tool to build communion and foster solidarity. Lord, help us to understand the times and to use the internet wisely. Continue to weave this magnificent network of prayer and reinforce the bonds between us. Together, wherever we are, may we become an invisible monastery.
Sono destinata a morire.